All right, so on to Cobra Kai. Me and Chris were just talking about this a little bit before, and just to clarify, you have not started watching Cobra Kai yet.
I haven't. So that's one. So we all have those. You were talking about earlier, Trey, during the segment. We were talking about all the different streaming services. There's so many shows and
Yeah,
so many
yeah,
different options. They're all these shows that are on my watch list, and I just don't always have the time to get to it. Cobra Kai was one of them. Although I also one of the reasons I didn't prioritize watching it, like I mentioned to you, is I was a little bit worried they were going to take too much of a corny approach to it, and I didn't know if
right.
I could take it seriously. So I'm excited to hear your review on it because I know you've been keeping up and watching it.
So I think you'll know after you watch probably even actually the first episode of the first season, you'll know if it's for you or not. What I would say is, and you're right. And again, we were talking about this before the show a little bit. There's some that they get pretty heavy into like the high school drama and things like that. They did a lot of that in season two, and I think they did a better job of balancing it in season three. And there was much less of that in season one. But overall, I really liked it. I would have to put this as an eight, possibly. I would probably say an eight. And I know we talked about we're gonna refine our rating scale. Um, so what I have for the rating scale that I've been using is an eight is great. So I think this is eight is great. I think this is great. It's not perfect, but I want to talk just a little bit about who I think this show appeals to. For me, I'm a huge Karate Kid fan. Probably more so as I got older. I liked the movies when I was younger. It's something that my dad like loved the first Karate Kid movie. Like people would call him Mr. Miyagi, like because he looked like an old man, but he could fight. He knew martial arts. So and when I got older, and again, I was talking about how I would just watch the same movies over and over when they're on, and I started watching the first Karate Kid more, I realized how in depth the relationships are, like how in depth Daniel's relationship with Mr. Miyagi is. So when you get to the end, you have that sense of you care so much about both of those characters. How good of a bad guy Johnny Lawrence is, and Sensei Kreese, and even the other guys that are with Johnny, they do such a good job of establishing they're just a-holes. I mean, they don't care. They're just out to pick on Daniel. Daniel's the new, the new kid in town. And then obviously we know what happens at the end. So I have such a high appreciation for the first movie. I like the second one as well. I like the third one probably probably more than other people. I like the first one the most, but the third one maybe a little bit more than most people. I think Terry Silver is great in that show. He plays such a good over the top bad guy, and then Sensei Kreese comes back and it's like, oh my god. So there's some nostalgia. So anyway, so jump into season three. I really liked it. I think the show is very self-aware. There's a part pretty early on where a guy yells out, they're in an auditorium and a guy yells out, Daniel's talking about his history with Johnny, and a guy yells out, hey Daniel, I heard you were actually the asshole. And what's funny about that is there's a YouTube video that has like 14 million views that's called Daniel was actually the asshole. And it like changes the whole perception of the movie, where it was actually Daniel that did all the things that caused that. So again, it's self-aware. In the season, Daniel also travels back to Okinawa and meets back up with three of the people from the second Karate Kid. And they're I don't know if the third person is the same actors, but I know two of them are the same actor. The main antagonist from Karate Kid Part 2, and then his love interest as well. And I think they did a pretty good job of writing it in. I mean, there's a little bit of a stretch there, right? Like, okay, that sure is convenient that he has to go there and he runs into them. But I think it's still fun, and you still enjoy seeing those characters. So I think that's kind of where the show goes. We're not going to take ourselves too seriously, but we're not just going to be all over the place. There's also a really cool throwback to the country club scene, where Daniel infamously gets red sauce all over his jacket, and he's running out after he sees Allie and Johnny kiss. And again, they set it up where they're very well aware that they're taking people back to that scene, right? Like they focus on a waiter that's carrying a bunch of plates of spaghetti and meatballs, and Johnny's wearing a jacket, and he's like, "Hey, watch out! I'm wearing." And it sounds corny the way I'm saying, but they do really good job with that. Another cool thing, and slight spoiler here, but I'm sure people by now know, Allie makes an appearance in this one, and there was a teaser at the end of season 2 where Johnny had actually sent Allie a Facebook friend request. So throughout this, throughout the season, it's building up to that. Elizabeth Shue shows up, and a quick story about that. When she came out on The Boys, I started thinking, holy crap, she's back acting. Maybe she's going to do Cobra Kai. And I read an article today where she said she had no idea. I mean, she knew that it was out, but she wasn't really thinking about it. And one of the directors from The Boys was like, are you going to do Cobra Kai? Like, you have to do this. Are you kidding me? So then she actually started taking it seriously, and then she ended up going and filming the scenes. She does a really good job. Again, she does a call out to where, she tells Johnny, well, hey man, you broke my radio. That was pretty messed up. I mean, that's hilarious because that's a classic scene from the movie where, he breaks the radio and then he, peels out on it with his dirt bike. So that was really good. A couple of other quick hitters. They have another really cool single shot long fight scene in this season. So the finale of season 2 was and I know Chris, you're going to watch it. I'm kind of spoiling it for you, but the finale of season 2 was this huge brawl in a school. Like there's like 20 kids that are just fighting for like 20 minutes in this school. But it was really cool. Excuse me. It was it was really cool the way they did it, because a lot of it was done from a single take. So you see the cameras panning around, and then it goes to the background, and then you see another fight starting, and then they keep doing it again and again and again. And it was just, when you're watching it, you're like, wow, that's a really cool way that they did that. So they wanted to continue that on. There's another fight like that in this season, which was really good. They focus a lot on Sensei Kreese and the backstory of Sensei Kreese, so you actually get to see why he is who he is, like what kind of made him that. And I think that just gives a little bit more depth to his character, and that was good to see him do that. So again, I'm a big fan of the Karate Kid movies. I think anybody that's a fan of those movies, there's enough throwbacks to it, and they do some flashbacks where they use some of the actual footage. But I think what makes it work is the writers are so self-aware of what the series is and what they're doing. And they get you emotionally invested, not only in the previous characters, the original characters, but also in the new characters that they have. And they do a really good job of developing those relationships and telling those stories. So I can't recommend it enough if you care about the original Karate Kids at all.
All right. Well, I'll definitely be watching it. I got other shows in front of it, but I'm going to check it out. Thanks for spoiling it. But you've already spoiled it for me. Sorry.
You already know what happens. You already know what happens. So,
Are they doing a 4th season?
They are. I believe it was already greenlit, I guess. And they did a setup at the end of this season for who else. I'll save that for you. That way I don't spoil that. They did a setup at the end of this season for another legacy character that could be coming back for season 4. So that's exciting. I'm excited for it.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Trey. So the last review we've got for this show is a show on Netflix that I found called We Are the Champions.